Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of adventure. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. As you can see, I am not alone. I have many amazing guests. Let me give you a quick 30-second intro to what this episode, the origin story of this episode. My great friend right over here, Chris. Chris, you want to wave? There we go. There's Chris. You'll hear from him in a sec, folks, on the podcast. Messaged me and said, Tom, I have a homework assignment. I'll let him explain it here in a sec. And I'd love to interview, I'm interviewing people from a different faith. I'd love to interview you about being Muslim. I said, that's awesome. Right now, from now until forever, I'm a dad now. So it's not a temporary thing. I like to multitask things. So I said, let's do it. But do you mind if I invite some other folks where they can share their perspective and I record it, turn it into a podcast episode, win-win for everybody? He said, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And so that's how this thing quickly spiraled out of control and became its own monster. And I'm so excited to have everybody here and be a part of this. So what we're going to do is have everybody introduce themselves. Then I'm going to hand actually the interview spot over to Chris. Chris is going to ask us some questions about what it means to be Muslim, about Islam, and we'll go from there. So why don't we have everybody introduce themselves? Let's start with, we'll just go in the order of people are showing up on my box. So Farzana, why don't you introduce yourself, share your name, and what your name means to you.
Hi, Chris, and hi to everyone who's tuning in. My name is Farzana. I associate my name with my mother, as many people do. She was the one who chose my name, and I'm sure it's been corrupted from the classical Persian and the neoclassical Persian or whatever sort of changes happened along the way. But I think neoclassical Persian, it means wise, and that's how people interpret it nowadays.
That's what's up. Thank you, Farzana. So glad
you're very welcome
to join us.
Peace and blessings, everyone. I'm Raisa Giwala, and my name is, I believe, of originally Arabic origin. It comes from like the root word rais, and I was always told that it meant rich. And as a child, I would always be like, oh, I'm going to be rich, right? And so as I've grown along the years, it's what I've realized and what I have grown into in terms of my name, just that it really means richness and abundance in all areas of your life, in terms of your health, in terms of your well-being, in terms of relationships. And it's been really quite a journey to kind of step into ownership of my name, and having that understanding and definition in terms of how I live my life.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Raisa. I'm so glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings to everyone. I'm Idris, and so my dad named me, and I've always been told that Idris means wise or studious or smart. And so I remember in Arabic that usually the consonants are the ones that we focus on. So DRS usually is kind of like learned or smart. So it's where you kind of get madrasa, just like a school where you learn. So I try to live up to it and try to educate myself. So that's my name origin.
That's what's up. I appreciate that, Idris. I love how, I've known you for so long. You get to know new things every time you ask people questions. So I appreciate that. Cool. Iman, you want to go next?
Oh, sorry. I was talking and I was
Go for it.
Yes, I'm Iman. My father actually gave me my name. So it's been, as a child, I had a lot of pride in my name because I grew up in Nebraska, so it was very unique. No one else had it. Then we moved down south, and I met all these other imams, so I had to find a different way of being proud in my name and the meaning, which means faith. And so for me, just in my journey, in my own spirituality and being Muslim and learning to have a deeper spiritual intimacy with Allah, I just love that my father was inspired to name me Iman.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Iman. And my dear brother, Omar, you want to share?
Sure. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thanks for having me, Tom. I want to say, yeah, my middle name's Omar. My birth name is Mehdi, which I really love. I think it's a beautiful name, and it's super, just round and robust. And it reminds me of kind of like my parents' story and their immigrant story, and their trying to their emphasis in our culture or in Islam to like give your children, names of significance. And then the middle name sort of was there because, it's a lot easier to pronounce. So for me, like Omar is kind of like, doesn't have as much, kind of, it's not as an interesting of a name, but it's there to sort of like make things easier, which I think kind of encapsulates like the immigrant experience a little bit too. So I don't know, it's kind of complex, but I don't really have any connection to it. Of course, Omar was the senior companion to the Prophet, peace be upon him. So that's beautiful, but it's also problematic because Shias and Sunnis are sort of like have this beef, and then it's complicated. But yeah, I don't really have much of a connection to names. That's it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, brother. So my name is Tom Earl. I am a junior. I always like to tease my dad that he might have been the first, but I am the one who owns TomEarl.com. So there. So I'm going to hand it off to Chris here in a sec. Chris is going to introduce himself and the project. Just wanted to give one disclaimer. Whenever you do projects like this, representation and diversity of perspective is super important. And we already know that we're going to have left some viewpoint out within the vast diversity of Islam. And so just for a little bit of context, I texted as many people as I could and said, we're going live in a half hour. Who can jump on the call? And so while everyone is dear to me, that is a little bit of the time frame and the resources we had to go with. So I apologize in advance to anyone who feels that their voice, their perspective in Islam is being left out. I hope you will forgive us for that. So Chris, why don't you take it away, share a little bit about yourself, and you can jump into your questions.
Actually, so it's funny, kind of funny story. My name is actually Ryan, and my middle name is Christopher. I just go by Chris Ryan on Facebook, which is how a lot of people know me, because I did that because I used to write, so that was like my writing name, and also so my students don't find me on Facebook, which they still find me, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't know. I think it's funny that, well, not funny, but pretty cool that you asked, what do people's names mean? I think that's something I've always struggled with my name being Ryan. I thought it was just plain. I don't know why my parents decided to name me it. I always give them crap about naming me this plain white guy name. But a few years ago, I looked it up, and it actually means so Ryan means little king, and then Christopher, I think, is Christ-like or Christ-bearer, which it feels like that's kind of a lot to live up to. But so how this came about, like Tom was talking about earlier, is I'm a history major at Arizona State University, and I'm currently taking a class called Religions of the World. So we have an assignment, and so just a background, I'm a Christian, and we have to interview somebody or a few people who are a part of a different traditional religion. So I hit up Tom, and I also hit up Mahershala Ali and a couple other people, but they didn't reply back. But Tom replied with the quickness. So I just also want to thank Tom for putting this together.
and thank all of you for being like, ready, and just short notice, and being up for this. So it's the first question, and and anybody can answer it, is how long have you belonged to this religious tradition, and how has it affected your life?
If you'd like, I can give this a go.
Okay, yeah.
I was born into a Muslim family, so it can be argued that I've been Muslim my entire life. That being said, I actively chose to be Muslim right around the time I graduated high school. I heard somebody, I remember I was on a ski trip for my youth group in middle school. And I was still a kid, so I didn't really understand the conversations that I was hearing, but I heard a group of high schoolers talking on the bus on the ride back. And one of them says, it's around the sophomore year of high school that you either choose Islam or you choose to leave it. And they were actually kind of right. Like, sophomore years is around that age, at least in American society, is around the time where you start to really think about those sorts of things. And in terms of your second question, which is how it has affected your life, I'll give the short answer, which is it inspires every moment of my life. I don't want to go into much detail because we'll be here all day, but it's a nice way to live and to think and to worship and to love. It's just nice.
All right. Thank you for that.
Great.
Did anybody else want to answer that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd love to answer. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, no, not. Oh, well, just to give like a slight, I guess, African American experience. I was, raised Muslim, born into a Muslim family, but the majority of my extended family, they're either Baptist or Catholic. So, growing up Muslim in that environment was a little bit different because you don't necessarily have cousins to spend Eid with or anything. And you're just kind of creating a family within your community, even though you also love your extended family. And then, it didn't even really seem like a choice that I had to make to be or stay Muslim. It was more like how much your faith waxes and wanes and the strength of your iman at times, or faith at times. But I always knew that Islam for me was the truth. Just even going, like, my parents would actively send me to church with my grandparents or my aunts, and I'd come back and it's like, yeah, this doesn't sound right for me. It's like, it doesn't, like, from everything I've learned and read in the Quran, it doesn't sound right for me. So it was never really like anything I ever second guessed of not wanting to be a part of. So it's kind of, Islam has, being Muslim and Islam has always guided me and always felt like that was my compass.
Omar, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a really great way of putting it, like, as a compass. I think, like, I was born Muslim too, but, like, decided that at one point I was confronted with a kind of painful realization that I wasn't welcome in a lot of more mainstream spaces. So I had to kind of find spaces where I could exist and create, like, a version of the religion that worked for me. And in doing so, I kind of was confronted with, like, the problem of, well, am I now no longer Muslim because I'm not doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing? But because those things presented, like, safety issues for me as a person, like, I've obviously felt like I was just doing the right thing for me. And then, yeah, over time that got easier. So, I just, the whole personal connection between the believer and God was just reinforced for me. And although it's lonely at times, it's just also a lot more reaffirming that, God is with you in your heart at all times. And, that's the compass, and that's your north point, and that's, it's conscious, it's rational. Being Muslim for me is just waking up, saying Bismillah, thanking God, and remembering God, and giving. Like for me, Islam is not just praying and fasting. It's really about giving. And if you can't, be in community because you're different or whatever, you can still, create your own and help others. So yeah, those guiding principles are Islam to me. Thank you.
That's what's up.
Cool. All right. And the second question is, what do you think is the most important aspects of your religion?
So sorry, I'm just I'm wondering if I can ask a clarifying question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you mean theologically, like what you believe is the most important tenet of Islam, or do you mean what speaks most deeply to you, what resonates with you most deeply?
I would say personally, like what speaks most deeply to you, what resonates with you the most.
Iman, you want to jump in, and then Farzana, if you want to add your thoughts while you're thinking after Iman, you can go for it.
I missed the second part because I got distracted. I'm sorry. What was the second part? You were saying it was the most important part for us?
Yeah, personally, what would you say, like what part of Islam resonates with you the most?
Oh, well, that is a tough question. Then how would, for me, I would say it's the faith, Iman, just having that faith in Allah and His prophets, and really holding on to that, and Ummah, which is the community. I suffer from and fight depression, since I was in high school, and it's been, even though sometimes your personal, Islamic community can be disappointing sometimes, but I've always fought to tell people in a way that, at first that my family was okay with me disclosing, because they didn't want anyone, to bring harm to me for any reason. But if I would see people that I know and love from my community who would say, depression is something that just means you have weak faith or something like that, and I would fight them on that, and then, and I would make a prayer for them, and then a year later, they would come back and they would apologize to me because somebody that they personally knew who's also Muslim was fighting this, and they knew that person was a very religious person. So with that, I think community and holding on to community that knows, that it can grow and become better, and you can become stronger together. I really love that. And it helps me keep my faith strong.
Thank you for that, Iman. I know Idris is going to need to jump off here in a minute. So why don't, Idris, if you want to answer this one, and then, we can say goodbye to you.
Yeah, sure. For me, I think that, in my life and the way my parents have instilled in me the way of being and living like a true Muslim, I think the most important aspect is service to mankind, and just always the zikr, remembering God too. So those two things. So I feel like they go hand in hand, because when you remember Him, then you always have sympathy and empathy for your fellow man. And since we're not here, on this earth by ourselves, and we have other human beings that we share this earth with, all walks of life. I feel like the way we manifest the love for God is by treating them well, because we can't really do anything for God as far as like give him anything, and we can't, feed him or anything like that, but we could feed our fellow man and we could be good to our fellow man. So for me, I think it's also in the Bible that it also states that, if you love your fellow man, I mean, if you love God, love your fellow man. So I feel like that's, same in line with Islam. So that's kind of like how I feel is the most important thing. And I think like Omar touched on, there's a lot of Muslims who pray and fast, but that's an individual thing. So if you're doing that, but you're not treating your fellow man right, I don't think that you're living as a true Muslim. There's also a saying that says, if if you really love Allah, you would do right by your brother, and you would, do right by your brother as you would want him to do for you. So that's kind of like how I live my life. I try to.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Ryan, before you go, Idris, just want to thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to jump off, and we'll have it in the show notes where folks can connect with you, because your Instagram is fire, especially for folks wanting to do social justice work. So I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me, and peace, Chris, and hope you have the best of luck and success with everything. And salam to Raisa and Farzan and Omar and Iman and Tom.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you.
Salam.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw Raisa go off mute, so I think she wanted to add before you go to the next question, if that's cool with you.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I think one of the things that I really hold on to that's helped me a lot is the knowing that no matter what is going on, no matter what is happening around me in my life, in my world, in the world, that I'm okay. And I get that faith and that grounding and that inspiration from what we have in the Quran, where God tells us that you're only going to be given what you can handle. Like, you won't be given any more of a burden that you can bear. And so knowing that, I know whatever is happening around me or in my life or, in the world, that I'm okay. And I'm always going to be okay. And it's not the end of the world until the world actually ends. So it gives me hope to keep going, and not feel that, hopelessness or despair in moments and times that are really hard and challenging.
What would you want others to know about your religion?
Can I say something on that before I hop off?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we get stuck a lot of times in like the do's and the don'ts, and you got to follow all these rules and things that we forget that those are actions of acts of worship and things that we're obligated to do in terms of those actions and those rules that we follow don't really have any meaning if they're not attached to sincerity or what's in the heart, meaning that the message of Islam and the reason why the Prophet, peace be upon him, was sent to mankind was a mercy from God, meaning like he came to teach us our religion through perfecting our etiquette and our behavior and our manners, which is all about, kindness and mercy and forgiveness and those types of qualities. So really nurturing those within ourselves and living life from that manner is really what our religion is all about. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes, that our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, really just came to perfect our manners. And so you can imagine a world where everybody had good etiquette and kindness and manners, with the sincerity, not just, faking it, but out of sincerity is really what the message is all about. And with that, I must sign off.
Thank you so much, Raisa. And I'll also have your info in the show notes because you are doing such important work out there. So I want folks to be able to connect with you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening and having me, everyone. Nice meeting you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, Chris, you're freezing a little bit. But I think while you're fixing your mic situation, I heard you say, does anyone else want to answer on that?
So in just to repeat your question was, what is one thing that you would like others to know about your religion? If I remember correctly. Fantastic. So in American society, where most of us were raised and nurtured, people are very unequipped to really comprehend the relationship between practitioners of a religion and the religion or the faith itself. And so in addressing that sort of almost like intellectual disconnect, I probably would want to say that it has been years since I have last thought of this sort of following Islam as a sort of like scaling scenario, where like you gotta really, really pile up the good deeds in order to get to heaven and avoid going to hell. It has been years since I last had that mindset, because my experience has been that when the religion itself comes to inform the way that you think about the world and how you act toward others, like Idris was talking about, it really stops having any sort of quantitative influence over your life. At that point, all you want to do is at a certain point, this is different for everybody. At a certain point, all you want to do is please God, and there's a very famous verse in the Quran, right? Spread what is good, forbid what is bad. That's all you want to do at a certain point. So the quantitative sort of element sort of goes out the window. So I would probably answer with that.
Omar, did you want to jump in? I see you unmuted.
Oh, Omar, are you looking for me? Sorry.
Yeah, you unmuted. I didn't know if you wanted to share.
Yeah, for me, I think the most important aspect would be remembering that, like, we're not separate from others. Like, Islam's focus is, like, community. And for me, since that's been problematic, I've extended that to mean just, like, people in general. So just that emphasis on being good to your neighbor, like what was mentioned already, and being good to your parents and being good people around you is a way of, being Muslim. So I think we get really bogged down by the constant sort of threat of, or possibility of, like, not doing enough good and then it not working out for you in the end. But I really hold fast to the idea that the Prophet, peace be upon him, delivered a religion, but before anything, it's just a way of life. So that, being Muslim doesn't mean that, you wear a thing on your head and, you're always like rushing off to prayer. It's like how you behave, and it comes through in your, in like subtle moments, and it's about subtlety, and it's about humility, and it's about modesty. And I think that's the most important thing, is like general comportment and behavior. That's all.
That's what's up. I think you were saying you're going to have to hop off?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do too much right now.
You're the best.
Thank you. It was great to hear your voice.
Yeah. Let's meet up again soon. And thank you so much for the last minute join.
Sure thing. Peace and blessings to everyone, and stay safe. And hopefully we'll all get together sometime soon.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu
Take
alaikum.
care. Walaikum assalam. Good luck to you in your assignment, of course. Sean, if he's there. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What are some of your religious traditions and rituals, and which of them mean the most to you?
I can jump on that. One of the ones that's most important to me is fasting. Fasting has been an important part of my life and my faith. I really appreciate how much it brings in patience for me, and that I notice when I fast that the day never slips by. So sometimes you can get so busy in a day that you forget to pray, or that you don't really ever stop to have a conversation with God or with yourself, or to really reflect upon bigger things in life, bigger questions. And so for me, fasting, because there's a discomfort to it, there's a part of myself that says, well, why are you doing this? Why don't you just drink some water? Why don't you eat some food? And so then I have to say, well, it's for this bigger reason. So it's this constant reminder to myself of I'm doing something for a greater purpose. And I feel like that it's a great symbolism for this life, where we can get so stressed and things can seem so insurmountable, and like there's such a huge deal. And just like when you're having the hardest fast ever, as soon as you drink some water, eat some food, and you're chilling, all of the hardship of the day is instantly forgot in that enjoyment of eating again. And so it's a good reminder for life that when I just let go, and I just relax, when I meditate, when I get into that peace, all the hardship of whatever led me to this moment is instantly forgotten. So that's one of my favorite pillars of Islam to be a part of.
And since Tom brought up the pillars of Islam, I think we can probably categorize all of them as a certain type of ritual. So I suppose you could include that in your work as well. I second everything that Tom said. Fasting is absolutely fabulous, and doing it for a month involves a sort of enlightenment that I don't usually get elsewhere.
I agree.
Yeah, I think, so in this, I just learned about the I think it's 5 pillars of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just learning about that too. And yeah, it's pretty, which honestly, I didn't realize how similar, it is to like Christianity. Like there's a lot of similarities, which I think like, especially me just growing up, I had no idea. Of course, like, I had this very ignorant idea of what Islam was or is. And, as I'm getting older and, just learning more, it's pretty cool and exciting. Like, I'm told y'all I'm a history major, so it's, I love to learn about, different, religions, different, just what makes people, different chick, I guess. But I only have 2 more questions. The last 2 are, how does observing or performing these traditions or rituals affect your daily life?
Can you clarify that question? Like you mean how we model our life around it, or?
I think Tom kind of touched on it, a little bit too. But yeah, I guess can y'all hear me? Sorry, I guess just like observing like your different traditions or rituals, like how does that affect your daily life? Like is it like I guess it's just in my head, I'm just thinking like when you wake up, like is there do you do something first, or what do you do when you wake up first or go to bed? Is there like a pattern maybe too?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, we're taught and raised that Islam is a complete way of life. So there's we have 5 daily prayers that are obligatory. So we should do them, quote unquote, have to do them, but we should be doing them. And then, of course, there's other prayers and dua and dhikr and, and all these other things that just enhance our daily worship and practice and remembrance of Allah and of his prophet. So, when we first wake up, you either learn or you're taught to say Alhamdulillah when you wake up, and then you go make wudu, and so you can get ready for Fajr prayer, which is our first prayer. And then, especially during Ramadan, it just, it really just, when you're fasting, it opens up your whole day, and you see how much time you really have for what's really actually important in your life, which is, putting Allah first. So and you're not getting distracted by all these things in the world that when you're outside of Ramadan, if you are, either making up fasting days or just adding extra fasting days, then you can just stay on track, and you really remember, like, okay, yeah, let me make Zuhr on time, and I can make Asr on time, and you're not distracted. So, during the everyday life, you have apps on your phone and timers on your phone to help you not get distracted by daily life in your remembrance. And especially, with anyone who has a family or mothers, it can be especially difficult because you have little people who want and need you. But you have to always remember that the one who will always be there, no matter what you're doing, is Allah, and always put Allah first. And Allah will always have your back. When we say Allahu Akbar, we really mean it. Allah is greater than every little thing that you can think that is getting in your way.
I love that. One thing I'd add on, for me, with rituals and rules and structure, I like those things, and at the same time, I'm very anti-establishment, anti-authoritative, and so like you have to, or you're supposed to, or like when power structures, especially in a very like patriarchal or way, is like, you have to, you're going to hell. Like I kind of rage against that machine. Farzan, I know you like puns. So, for me, I really have to say to myself, like, do I think, and this is where maybe I might differ from some folks, like, do I think if I don't do some of these rituals or rules or things, is it going to be what's my make or break for the afterlife? I really don't think, for me personally, that it's like that. So I have to then find for myself, why do I want to pray 5 times a day? Like, what is this more than just, what can almost become like a physical exercise where in my brain, I'm thinking about what am I going to do next? Or what are all the things that I have to do? And I'm going through all the motions. It's like, oh yeah, I've checked off this list. I'm a good Muslim. And maybe I can, hopefully people saw me so they know I'm a good Muslim too. It's more figuring out what about this is actually going to enhance my connection with God, and therefore my spirituality, and therefore make me a better person. That's really what I'm always trying to kind of like uncover from all of these things. And then what I find is, although I think that authoritative and institutions can ruin the beauty of ritual, that you really find that all of these rituals were really put in place for you to go on that quest to discover their true meaning behind them. So that's just one thing that I kind of oscillate on, if that's even a word, when it comes to the rituals, especially the 5 daily prayers, if I'm being totally transparent.
What a hippie.
I mean, I completely understand that as just someone like, you know, in my hijab and Doc Martens and my mother thinking I'm going to start some weird revolution or something in high school. But yeah, just I took 2 classes in the span of 2 months, and they are both about, in the grand, like summing them up, about spiritual intimacy with Allah and your personal connection with Allah. And it's like when you're making, it's like, I know when you're young, you make your prayers because your parents want you to make your prayers. Then you're in college and you should make your prayers, and sometimes you'll miss your prayers and you'll be like, okay, I'll make it up later. But then as you're going through the journey of just, gaining that spiritual intimacy, you realize just how important your salat is, because it's a personal conversation between you and Allah. It's like you don't have to tell anybody else. Like you're speaking directly to Allah. Allah can hear you, even if it's just a small dua during out the day. But, that's a special time. It's like Allah has set up these meeting times, like, hey, come to me and we can have this conversation, just you and me. And it's like, and that's how my mindset changed about salat just in general, in those rituals, and then every other thing that Allah has given us through the Sunnah of the Prophet, that just enhances those things, enhances that spiritual intimacy. It's like when Allah tells us in the Quran that He's closer than our jugular vein. It's like, that's so intimate. It's like, and you think about how when you're in love or with, you're intimate with the one you love. I'm just assuming I know Tom is married. So how that feels, like you want to like wrap yourself around someone because you love them so much. And you want to be a part of them. But Allah is that. Allah is even closer than that. So there's never any love that's even greater than that. So it's just, so when you really like peel back like anything that's hazy, that's getting in the way of your love and your devotion to Allah, because it'll never really be good enough, because Allah loves us more than we could possibly even show our love for Allah. So, and that's just such an intimate, close relationship. So why wouldn't you want to prioritize that? And because we're human, sometimes we lax in that, just like in our other normal human relationships. Sometimes they fall behind, or you forget to call someone when you said you were going to call them back, but you're trying to perfect that relationship.
I think we moved him so much, he's heading to the masjid.
This was a very covert form of dawah, Tom. Very well done.
No, his dog started to bark like crazy, so he just messaged me, said I got to let him out real quick.
Never mind.
Oh man, I'm loving this. Oh man, how y'all doing on time? Can you go 10 more minutes?
I gotta leave in around 5. We, if he can tighten up the question, I would really love that. And I have a question for him as well.
I don't think we have time for all that in 5 minutes.
Dang it. Okay, fine. I'll give you my question to him, and then you can tell me. It's very short.
Okay.
Oh, now?
Why don't we do his last question? I think we're gonna have time for his last question, and then a sign off.
Sounds good.
And then I'll let y'all connect separately for the question, if that's cool. Okay, we got 5 minutes left, so why don't you ask your last question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds great.
Okay, go
So
for it.
the last question is, what are some symbols of your religion, and what do they symbolize? I will say I do feel like a lot of these questions are kind of like the same, but that's the questions he gave us. So.
Mm.
Yeah, what are some symbols of your religion, and what do they symbolize?
I selfishly have a question that I want to ask everybody. So why don't we make this one brief, and then I'm just going to ask my question. I think it'll be a good wrap up. Anyone want to give a 1 minute answer on this one?
I'll give a 30-second answer on this one.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer the question directly. I'm going to point you toward a study that was done by Talal Asad. He's a fantastic anthropologist, son of Muhammad Asad, the translator of the Quran. And he did a study about syllabi across the country from universities on courses relating to Islam. And he found that a lot of the syllabi included material or questions that posed Islam and religion as a whole, actually, as part of the irrational. And I think a lot of these sort of like anthropological terms, like symbolism, ritual, witchcraft, magic, stuff like that, which are terms that he found, I think that's probably very. I think it's telling of the way that we represent religion. I'm very sorry that I didn't answer the question directly and instead did an analysis of the question.
Well, it's leading.
I agree with the answer of your question, but I would also like, I don't know if you could send the name of that book to Tom, so you can send it to me.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, great.
That leads into the next question that I wanted to ask, which is, and first of all, want to thank all of y'all for joining. I want to thank Chris for like this is, Wally B, longtime guest. He always says, look what God did. And so I woke up this morning, you sent me this message, look what God did. I got to see all these beautiful people, these beautiful conversations. I had no intention of doing this when I went to bed. So this is such a beautiful thing. So I want to thank you for that. I'm curious for y'all. What do you think? And I've done a lot of these like BuzzFeed's Meet a Muslim or all these different kind of like Meet a Muslim things, or any kind of representation piece. What do you think that we can't ever really like capture, or what with kind of the like meet a Muslim or meet someone who's this or meet someone who's that and become less afraid of them? I feel like that's kind of like the underlying thing. What can it never really capture fully? And Chris, you can answer this question too for, a part of your identity that you feel that relates to as well. Does my question make sense, y'all?
Yeah, I think it can never capture the full essence or spirit of like anything really, of any religion, of any experience. It just is, it's barely even really a peak when you're thinking about it, because everyone's experience is always different. So there's always going to be somebody who might be left out. And it's like, just give me a really quick snapshot of your religion that's going to explain everything real quick so we're not scared. It's just kind of impossible because it's so layered. So it's something that you really have to study for yourself, because even when you're Muslim, you can rediscover Islam.
I appreciate that. Farzana or Chris, y'all want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, for like kind of the I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. We just spoke.
Iman.
Oh, Iman?
Iman, okay, I'm sorry, Iman. Yeah. Like Iman said, it kind of leaves, that question is kind of like, everybody's not the same. Everybody has a different experience. I know for me, like Christianity, like I grew up, going to church and being, just trying to be a Christian. And what Christianity looks like for me today is totally different than what, I grew up on. First and foremost, I had to have my own personal connection, have my own personal story, which I think it was Farzana was saying earlier, like you said earlier, like I think sophomore year is when you like figure out if you want to be a Muslim or not, if you want to keep learning Islam. And I think it was like, for me, it was around that time where I was like, do I, Christianity, like, I don't like how, it looks, or I don't like, what I've been brought up in. And so I kind of like, stayed away, drifted away from it until like I, was older and kind of like figured out what it meant for me. Personally, and like what I like kind of like did my own study, and then this is what actually like it means in the Bible, or not even like I sometimes I think it's okay to say I don't know, and I think like in Christianity, like that's not that's not a thing we really say, or I don't know if that made sense, but yeah.
That makes sense. I appreciate that. Farzana, do you want to? I know you and I have talked about this many times. Do you want to add your 2 cents?
Sure. We have talked about this many times, so I'll try to be quite brief. There is, frankly, it's a representing in those sort of contexts is kind of it feels sometimes like a catch-22. Not because the people behind it are malintentioned, but mostly it's because there, as Iman mentioned, there is a lot that you cannot fully capture in snippets, and or even in words. Al-Ghazali, he was an Islamic scholar from way back in the day, really famous scholar. He wrote an essay called "Deliverance from Error," where he speaks about this this experience called fana. And for Sufis, it's basically this state of total enlightenment that they claim to achieve at certain points. Some Sufis do. And Al-Ghazali actually, in Deliverance from Error, he actually cautions against writing down anything about this experience, trying to describe this experience in words. He says that it will not capture it accurately, or it'll be misleading in some way. So I don't have that. I don't adopt Al-Ghazali's extreme view and applying that like entirely to Islam. I believe you can describe Islam sufficiently. That being said, the best way to know Islam is to experience Islam, and you will never be able to divulge that in a BuzzFeed video. I think you just need to clarify your intentions regarding what sort of knowledge to relay in such a situation. So what's the point of the video? You can't have people experience Islam. So what's the most utilitarian way to use this platform? I hope that made a little bit of sense.
No, that was awesome. I appreciate that, Farzana.
Thanks.
It's something I think about often. I think probably because I'm a white guy Muslim, people are like, "Oh, there's not many," and let's bring this guy on that I've been asked to be a part of a few of those kind of things. So I guess like 2 minds. One is I do think that a conversation or a thought can change people's lives and can change their view. So I'm there, and then I think of if folks haven't seen it already, Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie's video, "The Danger of a Single Story." I recommend people go check out that lecture, because if you think this is only one person you talk to, that's the whole entire thing for someone's identity or a culture they're a part of, then the repercussions it can have. But I think also when we try to like soften the edges, it's like, "Oh, Islam's friendly. We're all here. Everybody's got your back. No problems. We're here. What can we do for you?" Like almost make it sound like submissive to the culture that we're a part of. that when we try to fit that box to seem less threatening so people don't pass laws or assault us or these kind of things or ban us from countries, that's when I think it becomes really problematic. So I know we could go on and on and on forever. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. Chris, for making it happen. I do have a closing ritual that we do every time here at the celebration, and that's for everybody to just share. For those listening / watching, what is your invitation to folks who are listening right now? What would you like to invite them to do, to consider, to be, to think about? What is your invitation? And we'll give everybody a chance to share that. So whoever would like to jump in, feel free to jump on in.
I would invite them just to gain knowledge of whether, if they're interested, if they've listened to this episode and something has piqued their interest, just to go and search and seek some knowledge about that thing. And you never know what that is going to flower or fruit into.
I mean, Verzana, Chris, who would like to go next?
This is a bit of a difficult question for me because I'm not going to recommend that everybody convert to Islam. I suppose I would say, to echo Iman a little bit, honestly, seeking knowledge is one of the most beautiful and most frustrating and ultimately most fulfilling processes in the world. So it's a bit of a broad call to action for a context in which we discussed Islam alone. But I think it's relevant in almost any scenario. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to say, try to convert people to Christianity either. I think it's just something that, you kind of have to figure out on your own. But I think I would invite people to, any biases or any, any ignorant, things to unlearn everything that you've grown up and learned. I think that's one way I would invite people in, just to, and research for yourself, make decisions, make decisions on, on thoughts for yourself, research on your own, not, hearsay or as people say, fake news. That's really it.
My invitation is, a few weeks ago, we had an episode come out with Dr. Brian McElderry. And in it, we talked about the power of bigger questions. And so I want to invite everyone that's listening right now that throughout this interview, I bet there was some little thing that you felt come up. Maybe it was a frustration, maybe it was a surprise, something that showed that potentially there was a implicit, which means a subconscious bias that might have come up. And we have all those things going on throughout many different areas of our life. And so I invite you, if you heard something like that, or if it pointed you to something, that you ask a bigger question that you're asking right now, that'll lead you down a rabbit hole of curiosity. And through the other end of that, going down that journey, I bet you're going to come out a better person. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining, and those who had to drop off early. Like I said, I think I gave everybody about somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes notice of I'm doing this. Are you in? So really just shows the community that I'm so blessed to be a part of. And Chris, thanks for being the spark that set off this beautiful insert awesome analogy right here that has something to do with spark poetry. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Tom was saying. Thank you once again. I mean, I know it was really short notice, and I will let Tom know, and he can let you guys know what I get, what grade I get on this, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a good grade. But yeah.
Oh, this better be more epic than anything any other student did.
Yeah, I honestly think, which I mean, I could be wrong. I think that my professor's going to be like, oh, wow, there's different perspectives, like, you know. And I also have to write a paper on it too. So, well, just kind of like a 3-page small paper. So, yeah, I mean, I'm actually, yeah, when you pitched the idea, I was like, you know, at first I was like, oh, I don't know if actually, you know what, that would actually be really cool.
That's what's up.
But
cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Of course. All right, y'all. Thank you so much once again. And the show notes will be everybody's information who would like their information in the show notes. So thank you, everybody. And to all those listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.